oftentimes I think we see people who get this idea of church planting and this idea of kind of pioneering, starting something new is almost romanticized in the eyes, in the mind of the church planter.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways, I think you need that excitement if you're going to church plant.
Yeah.
But then reality hits
Mm-hmm.
that this is not as easy as it seemed. Brad, you have had the privilege, God is, by his grace, has given you the privilege of being able to plant a church that is today still in existence. What are some things you say, man, I wish I would have known this, or I wish I would have done this differently from day one?
Yeah. Well, I've got a list of 6 things here, and the list started actually partway through that church plant that you're referencing. Sat down with a pad of paper like this and just said, if I had it to do over, or if God gives us the opportunity to do this again, here's what I would do differently. So I would want to assemble a church planting team. We went solo, my wife and I, our family, but I would want to be part of a team. Don't start public worship services too soon, too small. In hindsight, I kind of feel like we did that. And so there's some things to be learned there, some things I wish I would have done differently back then. Selecting a meeting place is a challenge in church plant. And that was one of the things I put down. Yeah, I don't think we should have put the church plant in this particular location, this meeting place. So that was a third thing. Learn how to make disciples. We had the right goal when we started. We said we want this new church to grow largely through evangelism and discipleship. That's the right goal. There were things we learned and things we're still learning today about disciple making, fulfilling the Great Commission. But probably should have thought that through more than I had at the outset. The fifth thing, it's kind of overarching over each of these things. It is pursue excellence, but don't expect perfection. You're right when you talk about the dream that a church planter has. Here's how this is going to go great. Kind of a thing. And if you expect perfection, you're going to struggle with that.
I think there's this feeling like if we've got people coming in, we might be small, but we kind of got to act like. We got to try to give them all the amenities that they get in a bigger church, and that's just not possible.
Right. Yeah. And with these different things, it could have been better. It would have been had we had team members. Had we waited to start worship service, all of that. You're not going to get it perfect.
Right.
You're going to make mistakes. And that's got to be fine. And then the sixth thing on my list was maintain a long view of your work. And that takes some explanation. So those are the things here. I'm ready to dive in a little bit more.
So here's, I think, what we're going to do. These are great topics. And I want this video to be a teaser, right? Of like, hey, here are the things that you would do differently. And then we're going to dive into these topics in each in individual videos or as we would see fit as we work through. So, Brad, give me just one more thing, and I know I'm putting you on the spot here. I'm doing this on purpose. To a brand new church planter, somebody who says, man, I'm thinking about doing this, what would be your number one, here's my advice?
My advice would be to get all of the experience you can in the church where you're serving now. Before we became church planters, we're approved by Continental Baptist Missions and really pursued this as this is the main work of our lives. This is our focus. We were involved in a church plant. It was like 2 months old when we became a part of it and had the privilege of serving, teaching just about every different age group. We had the privilege of being a deacon, just a lot of things. And we thought, wow, we've had, this is great preparation for church planting. And it was, and yet, when we actually got into it, it was not too much. We're very thankful for that preparation, but you need all of that and more.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. I mentioned, our second work was the from scratch church plant. Our first work was a church plant in progress. We didn't start it. Some other missionaries started it. What were we, 28 years old when we went there? And as I look back over our ministry experience, I think that I'm so thankful that we didn't attempt a from scratch church plant as our first work. I don't know that we would have continued in ministry. It's just the experience that God gave us in that first work, plus the experience we'd had as part of a church plant before that. All of those things really helped us. And in saying that, I don't mean that, we were we were ready for that. There still was a lot to learn, obviously, through all of that. But that local church experience, serving in the local church in every way that you can, I think is critical to, you can go out and plant a church. You need all of that.
So what I'm hearing, Brad, is for somebody who's thinking about church planting, don't do this alone.
Don't do this alone.
Start by talking to your pastor. I've run into guys that they're thinking about church planting. They're kind of all fired up about this. And then I start talking to them about their local church that they're involved in, and they're not. They're kind of just wanting to do this on their own. Yeah. And that's going to most likely set them up for failure. That's definitely not the biblical pattern that we see.
Right.
Find a local church, be very upfront with the pastor, and the goal would be that they would pour into you and train you in ministry, give you good ministry experience, and then they can be the sending church that is there to help support you and get you through that.
We can identify examples of that from the New Testament. We see guys that we see them in a lead role and all that.
Yes.
But then we dig into their background. Well, they were involved in a church and proved some things, demonstrated some things, before they were sent out to lead this. So.
Yeah, I know there's several. Barnabas comes to mind right away because, we learned that Barnabas was well-loved by the people. He was full of the Holy Spirit. Yeah. He was already a giver.
He was a giver.
I think about he sold a field and gave it to the church.
Right. Yeah.
He wasn't known as an encourager.
Yeah.
He was the one that went and sought out Saul and Paul and brought him back and helped train him.
Right.
And he did all of that before ever being sent out from the church.
Yeah. Yeah, we could look at Barnabas as one of the things on here about learning how to make disciples. He was a disciple maker before they sent him out to be a church planter.
So if you want to be a church planter, get involved in your local church now.
In your local church. Yep.
Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to these. Look, if this was helpful to you on this channel, we want to bring you content that helps you plant, revitalize, and build healthy churches. And that's what this series is going to be, is helping churches think through, helping planters think through church planting. So if you have not subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell so you know when each of these videos load. They are going to be a series on this channel. You can most likely find them in a playlist when they're all done. So subscribe and let us know what you thought about this video. Come back for more of Brad's wisdom. See you later.